Am I the asshole for choosing to make my friend my medical power of attorney over my wife? My wife, F33, and I, M35, have been married for 8 years with 2 kids. I work in a hospital and seeing some very difficult decisions over the past year, I realized I really needed to get my legal affairs in order. During this process, I had a conversation with my wife about end-of-life decisions. There are a number of situations where my quality of life and function would be low enough that I would want care to be discontinued. I expressed these concerns with my wife and what I would wish for her to do under these conditions. She insists that she would never discontinue care under any conditions. At this point, we've had this discussion a dozen times, with no resolution and a lot of arguing. As far as I'm concerned, I'm unmovable in how I would want my care to be delivered. I will not risk being a patient with no chance of recovery, suffering in silence. I ultimately decided to name my oldest friend as my MPOA, because I know she will honor my decisions under these circumstances. My wife is pretty pissed at me. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. You have different wishes and a power of attorney as the one who is carrying out your wishes, not their own. It's the person who is going to be your voice when you aren't able to speak. Your wife has stated on several times that she would use that power for her own wishes, not yours. She doesn't want to be your voice, so you aren't giving her that title. Not the asshole. Your wife isn't the one hypothetically on pressers with a C4-C5 injury and an ET or track for the rest of her bedridden life. A lot of non-medical people simply don't know the horrors of a life being over, but the person hasn't died yet. They can't fathom it even when explained. They have to live it to get it, and you have every right to refuse to be her learning opportunity. Not the asshole. Your MPOA should act as you would, not bringing their own values into decisions about your care. Not the asshole. If you're in a position where you're unable to make your own medical decisions, you need somebody willing to advocate for your interests in your place. Your wife has made it clear she's unwilling to do so. She's ruled herself out of consideration as your advocate. Not the asshole. If your spouse, or other relative considered closest next of kin, will not direct your care how you would want them to in the event of incapacitation, then what choice do you have? Giving MPOA to someone you know you can trust is the only viable option if you want your wishes honored. Not the asshole. You've done both of you a favor. Not the asshole. The whole purpose of the POLST DNR is to make sure that your wishes are carried out. No one should blatantly disregard your requests for end-of-life care. As a hospice nurse myself, I've seen my share of disasters when family members try to find loopholes or ways to bypass the legal forms and try to implement life-saving measures against the patient's wishes. If you have someone other than your wife who will carry out your wishes, then that's what you should do. It'll give you peace of mind. Sometimes, the person closest to us lets their emotions get in the way of doing the right thing. Not the asshole. These kind of decisions are important, and if you are adamant that you want the plug pulled, in certain situations you need to have someone who knows that and is strong enough to do it. It can be harder for a partner than it is for a friend unless she has some belief system that she's sticking to. I think you've made the right choice. It is your life and you're allowed to be unmovable on this because you'll be the one experiencing it if the worst happens. Am I the asshole because nephew prefers me over his parents? I, 30 male, have a brother, Nick, 39 male, who has a son, David, 6 male. Nick has a wife, Katie, 38 female, who has been diagnosed with lung cancer around 4 years ago. When David was around 2, Nick used to bring him over to my place 2-3 a week and I'd babysit him for few hours at the time, so Nick could take Katie to the hospital or if when he was working. As the time passed, I'd babysit David more and more often. When he was 4, they all moved to another city because there was a better hospital and Katie would probably get a better treatment there. He also asked me to go with them, but I refused because I couldn't just leave like that. After a month, Nick brought David over with all of his stuff and asked me if he can live with me for some time, saying that they don't have time to look after him and can't find anyone else there. For the last 2 years, David has been living with me. Nick used to bring him to the city every weekend so he can be with his mom, but that didn't last long. Every weekend turned quickly into 1-2 days a month. I've gotten along with David pretty well, but I don't miss those days when he was crying for his mommy and daddy every day, and me having to explain it to him every time. Last week, Nick picked up David and they were away for 3 days. When they returned and David went inside, Nick called me to come outside to talk with him. The moment I got out, he started screaming at me, calling me an asshole, saying that I ruined his child and accused me for turning his child against his own parents. He also told me that he wishes that I was the one with cancer, before getting to his car, calling me an asshole once again and leaving. Apparently David barely spoke with his parents, didn't want to greet his mom, kept saying that he doesn't want to be with them, that he wants me, and cried few times to go home. Before someone attacks me, I've never told David anything bad about his parents. I kept reminding him how much they love him and that they are doing their best to be able to be with him more. I'm not sure what I did wrong. I'm just trying my best to help, because I feel bad and sad for everyone involved. Not the asshole. What did they expect would happen when they ignored their child, then packed him up to live with someone else for 2 years? You are basically all he knows now as a parent. He likely barely even remembers his parents. You did nothing wrong, and they are asshole for thinking you poisoned the child against them. Not the asshole. As someone with a close relative that died of cancer, your brother can suck rusty nails and gloopy snot through an acidic lime for this. He also told me that he wishes that I was the one with cancer. Edit. It's an unfortunate situation all around, but your brother sucks for channeling his anger, frustration at you. Not the asshole. Your brother is just taking his anger out on you. What did he really expect to happen? Did he want you to be mean and cruel to his child so he wouldn't be happy with you? Of course not. He thought he would just be able to pick up from where he left off, but the reality of the situation hit him like a ton of bricks, and you're the punching bag, unfortunately. Not the asshole. 6-year-old children tend to prefer their caretakers to people they barely see over the course of a year. You're more a parent to David than his parents are, of course he prefers you. Not the asshole. You did nothing wrong. David doesn't understand what's going on, he just knows he's been sent to live with you. You're the constant in this little boy's life right now. Your brother shouldn't have lashed out at you, and I'm hoping that when the air clears you are offered a heartfelt apology. I also suggest getting David into therapy now. Wishing you all well. Not the asshole. What the fuck did I just read? Holy shit. So you took your nephew and brother in, acted with kindness and support, and then a few years later Nick goes away with your nephew, comes back and shouts at you for no reason? What am I missing here? I can't see how you could even remotely be the asshole. How did you possibly do any of the things Nick is accusing you of here? Unless there's some major missing reasons, then Nick isn't just an he's many words this sub won't allow. Repeated over and over again. Not the asshole. Anyone in the equation who isn't receiving counseling probably should be, including you. This is an incredibly difficult position to be in for any of you involved. David is a child and confused no matter how much or well you explain what is going on. Even if to some degree he understands it, he is surely confused and probably scared. Nick probably let frustration with everything in life come out on you, and if your close brothers, keep this in consideration moving forward. Everyone should be seeing some sort of counselor here though. Info. Why didn't this child get counseling when he was being bounced from house to house? Am I the asshole for taking a weird joke my stepmom made too seriously? I'm 14 and I live with my dad and stepmom. My mom passed when I was 5, and my dad and stepmom got together when I was 9, and they got me to move in with my nan. 2 years ago my nan had a stroke, and she had to go to a nursing home, so I moved in with my dad and stepmom. Ever since my dad and stepmom got together I couldn't spend time with just my dad. My stepmom had to come too. I always got the vibe she didn't really like me, so I had no idea why she always wanted to hang out with me. It made hanging out with my dad really awkward. When I moved back in with them it got worse, cause every time we were having a conversation she'd come in like, "What are we talking about?" and just join in the conversation even if it had nothing to do with her. If she could, she would stand or sit in between us too. I mentioned it to my dad a couple times and he said he never noticed, and he doesn't think it's true that it's every time. He was like, "It's her house too, she can hang out with us if she wants." I don't think it was getting through to him that it was every time, and it was weirding me out. So next time she did it I was like, "Hey, why do you always come in and join every conversation I have with my dad and stand between us?" And she laughed and said, "Oh, I'm just a bit of a jealous person." And when I asked what she meant she was like, "I get jealous when my husband spends time with other girls." I told her that was really weird and I'm not another girl, I'm his daughter. My dad and stepmom keep insisting it was a joke, but it really creeped me out and I can't help but take it seriously. I asked her to stop butting into our conversations and she was like, "Oh, so I need your permission to talk to my own husband in my own home?" Which is definitely not what I was saying at all. Now my stepmom is acting all hurt and upset and my dad wants me to apologize for hurting her feelings. He says I deliberately overreacted to her joke just because I don't like her and I was taking any excuse to be mean to her and exclude her. But I really feel like it was a weird joke to make even if she didn't 100% mean it like that, and I think I have the right to be weirded out by it. Plus I think I have the right to ask to spend some time just with my dad, and it doesn't mean I'm trying to exclude her. Wait. You lived with your nan from when your dad and stepmom got together until your nan was no longer able to take care of you, correct? I'm assuming this wasn't your choice since you were a little kid at the time? She's absolutely jealous of you and she wasn't joking. You weren't allowed to live with your own parent for fuck's sake. I don't know who is more of the A here, her or your dad, but it sure as hell isn't you. Not the asshole, and both of the adults in this situation should be ashamed of themselves. He says I deliberately overreacted to her joke just because I don't like her and I was taking any excuse to be mean to her and exclude her. Oh, you mean like how you were excluded when you were sent away to live with your grandma? They're projecting so hard here it's laughable. Or it would be if it wasn't senselessly cruel to a child. Not the asshole. That was a weird joke. I wouldn't like her either, because they sent you away when he married her. Sounds like she doesn't like you either. Not the asshole. That's a really weird joke. It reads as her actually being jealous of you. Especially with the context that you were basically shipped off to live with your nan as soon as she and your dad got together. You deserve to have alone time with your dad, and I'm sorry he's refusing to give that to you and insists on having your stepmom involved in everything. Not the asshole. I'd ask them straight up if that's why you were sent away when they got married. I think it was, and I think it is absolutely true what she said. She sees you as competition for your father's love. It's scary and unhealthy. Your father should be protecting you from this woman and she needs therapy. Family therapy is probably a good idea too. Not the asshole. I don't think there is much you can do to change anything when your dad doesn't see it. I would have acted very passive-aggressively with the situation, like when you see your stepmom coming to butt in. Here she comes. I guess I'll step away so she don't get jealous of a father having a conversation with his daughter. Or if a woman or even a little girl talks to your dad and stepmom about to join in. Better stop this conversation on, his wife will be jealous of you. And when they called you out for it, it's a funny joke. I thought you both love jokes. I don't recommend you do that because it will only build tension, but I am just petty. Not the asshole. Yeah. That's a red flag and the kind of joke people make when they're saying what they mean, but they know it's not acceptable. Okay. Not the asshole. I hate how common it is that women will get jealous over children thinking that they're going to steal a grown adult man. It's a weird joke, and you're right. You're not a girl, you're his daughter. TBH, it kind of makes it sound like she wanted to get rid of you by sending you to live with Nan. Update. Am I the asshole for stopping my roommate from being able to adopt a cat? My post. So to start, I took my roommate and the cat to the vet on Monday like you all told me to do. The poor kitten is tiny and he was covered in fleas and very weak. My vet said he had an infection and just in a really bad way. So he stayed at the vet's until Wednesday. The vet did explain to my what an appropriate diet for a cat was, but I could tell she wasn't listening. After the initial vet visit we got an estimated bill and it was about $1,500 AUD. My couldn't pay it and made a comment that it was the same amount as the cat cost her. So I told her to give me the cat and I would pay it. That is what she did. My boy also got neutered while there. Thank you so much for telling me to neuter him. He had been home for a day now. I am keeping my dog away from him because my kitten is still weak, but he is eating well. He really likes raw food, but I am not sure I will keep him on DIY raw and maybe buy his some pre-made raw from the pet shop or move to wet food. We will see. Is moving out. She says she is unable to forgive me and I think she is heartbroken about having to give me the cat. So she will be out probably next week. Also, my new kitten is called Leo. My little Leo. ETA. Yes, she spent over $1,000 on a DSH. She was told he was a purebred ragdoll, but he very obviously isn't. IDC though, he is so cute and I just love him. ETA. Thanks for all your concern. My vet knows what I feed my animals. He has helped me with a diet plan. Because I am not confident in my abilities to properly formulate a proper diet for a growing kitten like I can for puppies, I will be moving him to wet food until he is healthy and stronger. Then we shall try again. By then I should be more knowledgeable in what I need to do and I will have more time to create spreadsheets and look up ingredient sources. It's a process, but it's a fun one. This cat won't be fed half-heartedly, don't worry. If you're worried about him gaining weight too slowly, there's milk replacement formula you can put in their food. Also, brush him with a toothbrush. It's supposed to be soothing for kittens because it's like their mother's tongue. Thanks for the update. Your roommate was in no position to raise a cat. Glad you stepped in. Not the asshole. Do you have paperwork? If not, the cat is still hers. And #X200B. So you might find she has taken her cat with her when she has left. I'm happy for you and little Leo. Thank you for looking out for his best. Unfortunately, it's likely she will just try to get another sad face. That is an absolutely adorable kitten. I will raise 1 point with the DIY raw food diet for the little gremlin. Cats need a number of amino acids that are not present in pure muscle meat. This is completely different to dogs. If you do go with DIY, there is a lot of additional supplements you will need to add, or maybe do a dual diet of a high-quality dry food and supplement with the raw food. Good luck with your new cat and thank you for standing up for Leo. The cat cost her $1,500. I just picked my last one up off the street. Before that I haven't had a cat cost more than $100. Thank goodness he's okay. Been hoping you'd update us with some good news. With a caring owner like you, little Leo is going to be just fine. I agree with a previous commenter that giving him KMR, kitten milk replacer, would be a good idea just to help him gain weight. He looks kinda like my baby Dipstick when he was 10 weeks old, small and frail. Dipstick was the runt and was about half the size of his other siblings. I ended up bottle feeding him and after about a week he was already doing so much better. Now he's my sweet little panther. My Dipstick if you wanna see. But either way, KMR or no, he's going to thrive with you as his pet parent. And he has oodles of Redditors who love him already lol. She paid $1,500 for a domestic shorthair? WTF, there are literally thousands of them in shelters. Amazing kitty, by the way, wonderful of you to take such good care of him.